we're going to segue right into this next question without going to the song. I apologize if you had a question queued up, but because of time, we're going to go right into this next question. The Bible speaks about 144,000 people being saved through the tribulation.
Yes.
Who are they?
Ooh. I know that it's listed 12,000 from various tribes, and I know it's not directly the tribes of Israel, because I believe Gad isn't mentioned. Let's go there.
Let's go there.
Let's look.
Because, yeah, let's go there. Because this couldn't be more straightforward, and yet. All right, we're going to go to Revelation, chapter 7. It says, after these things, after what things? After the Antichrist goes into the Holy of Holies, declares himself to be God. God then, depending on your view of eschatology, takes the church out of the way, which we call it the rapture, takes the church to heaven. After those things, chapter 7, verse 1, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth or the sea or on any tree. Then I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God, and he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was granted to harm the earth and the sea, saying, do not harm the earth, the sea, or the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God on their foreheads. And I heard the number of those who were sealed. 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel were sealed. Alright. Let me read that verse one more time. 144,000 of all the tribes of Israel were sealed. Alright. And so now people conjecture, and this is not a historical conjecture. This came with something called the replacement theology. Replacement theology is what Hitler used very strongly to say, well, those promises to Israel aren't Israel anymore. That's the church now. And Israel's the bad guys, and now the church, we're the good guys. And around the time of that replacement theology, that's when theories like, well, this isn't really Israel, crept in. Even though it says 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel were sealed. But just to clarify, in case we weren't able to do the math ourselves, he says, verse 5, of the tribe of Judah, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Reuben, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Gad, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Asher, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Naphtali, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Manasseh, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Simeon, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Levi, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Issachar, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Zebulun, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Joseph, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Benjamin, 12,000 were sealed. All right. So if you're making the whole, oh, that's not Israel, that's the church. Okay. All right. If you want to symbolize that to something else, if he'd have left it at that, I could almost buy it. But now, in case we weren't going to do the math ourselves, he lays it out. So what's Judah symbolic of, and what's Reuben symbolic of, and what's Gad symbolic of, and what's Asher symbolic of, right? Okay. So I think he's very pedantically, very systematically telling us this is who these are. Well, a lot of people say that these guys are symbolic of the church. Let's talk about that for just a minute. When God tells Abraham he's going to destroy Sodom, Abraham says, if there were 5 righteous people, would you destroy it? He said, no, I'm not going to destroy a city for the sake of 5 righteous people. Well, if this were the church, you have 144,000 righteous people. Before they destroyed Sodom, they went and got Lot out. They brought them out.
Correct.
Okay? He didn't destroy Sodom while Lot was there. He went in and got them out and then destroyed it once they were gone. In fact, the angels even said, we're not allowed to destroy this until we've brought you out. All right. Noah. Because the Bible says in the last days it will be like the days of Noah and the days of Lot. Noah was a righteous man. His family, they were told to build a boat, and they preached to anyone who would listen. To a man, everyone rejected them. So the only righteous 8 people on the planet, for the sake, got on a boat and were preserved through this destruction of the flood. And it says God shut them in. God sealed them into the ark. God put a seal on them and preserved them through this time. God doesn't punish the righteous with the wicked. We see that again and again and again and again. And so I believe that, because it'll be in the days of Noah and in the days of Lot, I believe that that means that just like the days of Lot, there will be people taken out, which will be the church. And just like in the days of Noah, there will be people preserved through, which I believe are the Israelites. And we know from Daniel there's 69 sevens appointed to Israel from the day of the rebuilding of the temple to the Messiah. And there's going to be one more set of 7 years that come after the time of the Gentiles. And that time is going to happen at the beginning of this 7-year period, where God turns his eyes, takes the Gentile church, takes the church up to heaven, and once again turns his focus upon the Israelites, where they're preserved through this tribulation. If, however, you believe that only 144,000 people, if that is the church and they're going to heaven, alright, so we know David made it, that's one. Noah probably made it, that's 2.
Am I going to make this list?
My grandma was certainly there, that's 3. My pastor, I'm running out of fingers. You know what I'm saying? There had to have been more than 144,000 righteous people on the planet from then till now. And if you see the book of Revelation as a timeline, in the beginning of the book, Jesus says, John is told to write the things that were, things that are, and things that will be. And if you take that as an outline for the book and you see it as a progression, it's very clear. It is a very clean timeline. All of the symbology in the book of Revelation, most of it's found in the book of Genesis. So I think for us to see this as anything besides Israel is stretching, because it says very clearly, verse 4, and I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 of the tribes of the children of Israel. And then it lists the tribes. Now it does leave out Dan, and there's speculation as to why why the tribe of Dan was left out. Those were the guys that built the false temple. Those were the guys that were in idolatry for much of the story. We don't know if that's why. It very well could be why. But I think a very difficult case has to be made for thinking that's the church. You have to throw out the entire prophecy of Daniel that talks about the last 7 years for the children of Israel, which is the same prophecy that tells us that Jesus will be entering Jerusalem on April 6th, 32 AD. He'll be crucified a week later. It's the same prophecy that tells us the Antichrist is coming. You have to throw out various parts of the Bible the moment you neglect the fact that there will be 7 years during the Great Tribulation in which God's focus will be the children of Israel. All right, that brings us to 11:30. That's our show. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Don and Matt in the Morning. Friday from 10:30 to 11:30 Arizona time. Same bat time, same bat channel. We look forward to seeing you then.